who could ask for more? The crime wave is high, with muggings mysterious. All police and detectives are furious, cause they can't find the source of this lethally evil force. This is serious, so give me a quarter. I was a witness, get me a reporter. Call April O'Neil in on this case. Hey, you better hurry up, there's no time to waste. We need help like quick on the double. Have pity on the...
Man, I've been wanting to get to this movie forever. I'm a fully grown man, clearly. But when it comes down to the Ninja Turtles, I become a child instantly. The Ninja Turtles have a special place in my heart, and that turtle craze from my childhood, it's just something that you can't recreate it. It will never happen again. They were literally everywhere. You had toys, you had board games, you had video games, anything you can think of that can have the Ninja Turtles slapped on them, had it slapped on them. You even had live concerts. If you were a little boy growing up in the early 90s, you were a Ninja Turtle fan. There was no escaping that. It was a fact of life. So it was only a matter of time before a live-action movie came out. Sadly, I was only about 3.5 years old when this came out in theaters in 1990, so I was a little too young to get that full theatrical experience that I would have loved to witness at the time. But I did watch this movie endlessly when I was growing up on VHS, and it wasn't any less spectacular.
We were awesome, bro! Awesome! Yes, dudes and dudettes, Major League Butt Kicking is back in town! Oh, yeah! Awesome! Righteous!
It's really one of those rare childhood movies that, watching now as an adult, it still holds up really well. I can't think of any adults from my generation that think this movie sucks. It doesn't happen. So let's jump right in and see exactly what makes this movie so awesome. The New York City of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles is a city riddled by a crime spree, caused by a ninja clan from Japan. And the only ones that can save the day are the Turtles, our heroes mutated by a mysterious ooze. This sounds a lot like Daredevil. Well, that's no coincidence. As it turns out, Kevin Eastman and Peter Laird, the creators of the Turtles, were fans of Frank Miller's work on Daredevil, and it shows. One of Daredevil's greatest enemies is the Hand, a mystical ninja gang involved in all sorts of criminal industries. The Ninja Turtles universe, instead of the Hand, has the Foot. Also a ninja clan involved in all sorts of criminal industries. And Daredevil was created when an accident caused radioactive waste to fall on him and burn his eyes, mutating his senses. In the Ninja Turtles universe, an old blind man was almost hit by a truck as a bystander pushed him out of the way, and a mysterious canister filled with green ooze fell from a truck, hitting him near the eyes, and then breaking a jar with pet turtles in it, covering them with the ooze. Daredevil has a wise martial arts master training him in the form of Stick. The Turtles have a wise martial arts master training them in the form of Splinter. The similarities are unmistakable, and the dark tone of 1980s Daredevil inspired the dark tone of the Ninja Turtles comics, involving very little humor and a really violent clash with the Shredder. But in 1990, when this movie came out, the comics weren't the main driving force of its popularity. The cartoon show was, which was the complete opposite, goofy and made for young kids.
Where did you people ever get those ugly turtle costumes?
Probably the same place you got that ugly mask.
But I'm not wearing a... No, just a darn minute.
I can't begin to describe how perfectly the movie blends the darker tone of the comics with the cheesy fun of the cartoon.
Ointment? Hey guys.
It's blended so perfectly that the movie is still lighthearted enough to be hilarious at times, pleasing my inner child, and serious enough at times to satisfy my need for a well-told story and engaging character relationships. Anyways, getting back to the Foot Clan spreading crime throughout New York. The story isn't anything remotely deep or complicated. The Foot are stealing things all over the city, like TVs and deliveries, for some reason that's never really explained. They're bad guys, that's all you really need to know. And the Ninja Turtles take it upon themselves to save the city.
At an alarming rate.
How did they take those boxes so quickly? The guy was gone for like 2 seconds. He was like 3 feet away from his truck. Makes no sense. I love it. And their suits look awesome too. The Foot Clan here is a little bit different than the deadly Japanese ninjas seen in the comics. In the movie, they're more like a street gang, and it's made up of a bunch of misbehaved kids that need an ass whooping from responsible parents. These kids were coaxed into a hard criminal life where they're forced to stay in their hideout, filled with Burger King meals, sports, skateboarding ramps, friends interacting socially, neon lights, sodas, arcades. That is awesome. I would absolutely run away from home and join the Foot Clan. You just hang out and play video games all day? What's the downside? The only downside is that they're constantly getting their asses whooped by their trainer and second in command of the Foot Clan, Tatsu. I'm not sure how effective his training is, since it seems like the Foot Clan usually gets beaten pretty easily, even though their numbers far outweigh the 4 turtles by a huge amount. And fun fact here, Tatsu was made up for the movie, but he did appear in the Sega Genesis Hyperstone Heist video game as one of the bosses. Oh, and there's Sam Rockwell, Justin Hammer from Iron Man 2 as a teenager, and one of the Foot Clan kids. Some of the other supporting characters include April O'Neil, the typical nosy reporter that gets way too involved in her own story and is trying to expose the Foot Clan and bring them out of the shadows.
There is no evidence to link such a name to these incidents.
Are you denying that such an organization known as the Foot exists?
I'm not denying anything. Again, you're putting words into my mouth.
I'm sorry, Jim. It often seems that somebody ought to.
Silence. Miss O'Neill.
After pissing Shredder off, the Foot Clan goes after her and finds her all alone, delivering a stern warning.
I deliver a message. Shut it.
I'm sorry, okay, I'll say this. I don't think that slapping women in real life is funny. And it should never happen under any circumstances, but this scene, the way it's filmed and the amount of disrespect, I can't help but laugh. It's hilarious. Let's watch it again. Raphael ends up rescuing her, and she gets taken underground where she meets the Turtles and Splinter.
Are you crazy?
Yeah, Leo, I'm crazy, okay? A loony, okay?
Why?
Why? Why? Oh, I don't know. Because I wanted to redecorate. You know, a couple throw pillows, a TV news reporter. What do you think?
Hi. Oh my God, I'm dead.
It's okay. After being horrified by these monsters, she becomes their friend and even invites them over to her apartment. And it probably smells like ass afterwards, too. 4 turtles that live in a sewer full of human feces and urine, camping out at her place. That's disgusting. And we also have Casey Jones, the New York City vigilante, armed with a badass hockey mask and hockey sticks to beat up crime. He was my favorite character watching this movie as a kid. He's overly cocky, completely disheveled, and always looking for a good fight. He's an absolute blast to watch in every scene. The complete opposite of the clean-cut Oliver Queen Casey Jones we recently got from Stephen Amell. It was a horrible depiction of the character, and I even forgot he existed until I just mentioned him now. You want Casey Jones? Watch the 90s Ninja Turtles. And I love the bond that he forms with the Turtles, too. The first time he meets one, he runs into Raphael in the park, and of course they get into a fight since they're both hotheads.
Hey, what are you, some sort of punker?
Huh?
God, I hate punkers. Especially bald ones with green makeup. Who wear masks over ugly faces. Ooh.
No better! Strike one!
Whoa, whiffer.
Home run!
Cricket.
Cricket? Nobody understands cricket. You gotta know what a crumpet is to understand cricket.
I'll teach you.
and then gets into an insult battle with Donatello. And be aware, I am risking this review getting demonetized, but there is some extremely strong foul language ahead.
No way, Atomic Mouth. Gilligan was her main man. They'd be married and have 6 kids by now.
Gilligan was a geek, Barfaroni.
You're the geek, Camel Breath.
With dome head.
L Flips.
Fungoid.
Here goes, Gackface.
I'm ready, hose brain.
Eventually, April and Casey fall in love, but before that, they're constantly bickering too. He argues with everybody.
That's up to you. Just don't come around here asking for my help anymore.
See, I wouldn't ask for your help if you were the last thing on the face of this planet.
It's coming along nicely.
Now let's get to the main stars of the movie, the Ninja Turtles themselves and Master Splinter. This movie is from an age where CG was in its infancy, and it wasn't really widely used. It's a golden example of actors in suits and animatronics being used perfectly. Splinter's puppet gets so many full body shots in this movie, and the amount of detail is amazing. The Turtles are mostly actors in suits with some puppetry mixed in to make their expressions look believable. With the talent of Jim Henson's Creature Shop working on the Turtles, it was no surprise that they look as fantastic as they did. While watching the movie, you don't even think about these being people in suits or puppets. They feel like real breathing characters acting in front of a camera. But there is one downside to watching this movie on Blu-ray, which is actually, it's kind of hilarious. Clearly back then, they never took the future of high definition into account. So in many shots, you can actually see the line separating the head from the body, where the actors can pull the masks off. It's really obvious in some scenes. Even so, they still look immeasurably better than the fully CG Turtles. And the most crucial aspect of the Ninja Turtles done right is getting the relationship between them as brothers correct, and their relationship with Splinter. You want to care about them as a family. And this movie nails that. Splinter genuinely feels like a wise father figure that cares about each of his children individually.
Anger clouds the mind. Turned inward, it is an unconquerable enemy. You are unique among your brothers, for you choose to face this enemy alone. But as you face it, do not forget them, and do not forget me. I am here, my son.
And at one point he gets captured by Shredder and beaten up by the Foot Clan because this little shithead called Danny, who I like to call Asshole Danny, finds out where the Turtles are hiding and tells Shredder. And Asshole Danny also steals money from April's wallet, but eventually has a change of heart and helps Splinter escape, but it was all his fault to begin with. Asshole Danny is the worst, and I dislike him. But as the Turtles desperately try searching for Splinter, they hide out in an old farm with April and Casey, and it just pulls at your heartstrings seeing how much they love Splinter in return.
I am proud of you, my sons. Tonight, you have learned the final and greatest truth of the ninja. That ultimate mastery comes not of the body, but of the mind. Together, there is nothing your four minds cannot accomplish. Help each other, draw upon one another, and always remember the true force that binds you. The same as that which brought me here tonight. That which I gladly return with my final words. I love you all, my sons.
If you watch this scene and you don't get teary-eyed, you are a heartless, soulless monster. That's real drama that pulls at your heartstrings. That's real. As far as the Turtles, they feel exactly like they should. 4 siblings that work together as a unit, each with their own individual personalities and completely in love with pizza.
Pizza Dude's got 30 seconds. Yes, friends, the new Turbo Ginsu! Woohoo! It dices, it slices, and yet makes French fries in 3 different... Whoops!
I'd like to invite you all in, but, I really don't have anything to offer you guys except for, frozen pizza.
Let's go for it!
You said the magic word.
You guys eat pizza?
Doesn't everybody?
Leonardo is the responsible leader figure that carries the heavy burden of leading his brothers into battle and keeping them safe, shown especially well when Raphael gets hurt by a Foot Clan attack, and Leonardo stayed right by his side while he recovered. Raphael, on the other hand, is the angry one that makes rash decisions and is always going out on his own to blow some steam, essentially being the Wolverine of the team, leaving in the middle of the night to catch movies by himself while wearing a coat, which I have no idea how this hides an identity in any way, shape, or form, when he clearly has a giant green exposed head.
What the heck was that?
Looked like sort of a big turtle in a trench coat. You're gonna look out of here, right?
And his bad attitude always gets him into arguments with Leonardo.
Oh, so that's the plan from our great leader, huh? Just sit here on our butts.
I never said I was a great leader.
Well, you sure act like it sometimes.
Yeah? Well, you act like a jerk sometimes, you know that? And this attitude of yours isn't helping anything.
Yeah? Well, maybe I'll just take my attitude and
Why
leave.
don't you?
I will.
Good.
Great.
Go ahead. We don't need you.
Donatello is the smart one, and he tries to stay out of all these arguments, oftentimes separating to hang out with Michelangelo, who's the clown of the group and never takes anything seriously.
Pork rind?
Pork rind.
Move it, will ya? Oh, you let him blow right by you. Can you believe this guy? Come on, don't just ninja kick the damn rabbit. Do something. April, hey, you are great.
Thanks, Mikey.
Oh, she called me Mikey.
You cannot be a Ninja Turtles fan and not smile while watching this movie and seeing them interacting with each other. And we also see the origin of Splinter and the Turtles, all done with animatronics and little puppets, and it looks fantastic. I love how the story is told, almost looking like a stylized comic book panel. Splinter was a pet rat that belonged to the martial arts master Hamato Yoshi, and he closely watched his master training, learning his moves. And Yoshi fell in love with a woman, and his rival Oroku Saki happened to be in love with the same woman. But she loved Yoshi, and both fled to New York to escape. Eventually, Oroku Saki tracked them down, killing them both in a jealous rage, as Splinter escaped his cage and attacked him, scarring his face. And Oroku Saki cut his ear off with his katana, escaping, eventually becoming the Shredder and leader of the Foot Clan. And Splinter ended up in the sewers, discovering the canister and 4 baby turtles covered in ooze. And as the turtles got older, they started mutating, and so did he, becoming larger and more intelligent.
And I was amazed at how intelligent they seemed. But nothing could have prepared me for what happened next. One of them spoke.
Pizza! Pizza!
And speaking of Shredder, wow, what a fantastic villain, and an excellent contrast to our heroes. While they're comedic and have fun with their roles as martial arts turtles, Shredder is stone cold serious. There is no humor to be found here. He is the only man that can get away with wearing a shiny silver cape and a glamorous glitter uniform and still have a threatening presence that brainwashes a ton of kids to work for him. Everything about this character is so imposing that everyone just bows to his will with just a look. And he's obsessed with finding the turtles because something about their fighting style reminded him of the past, clearly setting up the link between him and Splinter. So throughout the movie, the turtles try to find out who's in charge of the Foot Clan and look for the captured Splinter, and it never gets boring. Whenever slower story-building sections of the movie happen, they're usually followed by action-packed fight scenes with a ton of foot soldiers, the turtles, Casey Jones, and awesome music.
Gotta get out of here!
And it's funny too watching these fights because you know they made sure to keep it safe for the kids. If you notice, Raphael and Leonardo never actually cut anybody with their sharp weapons, instead making sure they use them defensively or outright missing when they use them. And that's probably why the foot soldiers were all robots in the cartoon series, so the turtles can actually use their weapons in a lethal fashion without murdering people. And there is a ton of product placement in this movie too. Nowadays, when there's obvious product placement in a movie, it gets an eye roll, but I think it's part of the charm of this one. Since the turtles were always referencing pop culture and all sorts of other real-life things. You see plenty of Pepsi cans, there's boxes of Archie comics laying around, which of course produced Ninja Turtles comics in real life. I also noticed some Kraft Parmesan cheese that was slightly turned away from the camera, but you could still see the actual Kraft logo was missing completely. I guess Kraft didn't pay enough money to be displayed in a Ninja Turtles movie. And ironically, Pizza Hut was heavily involved in an expensive marketing campaign for this movie, but Domino's Pizza is the one that showcased, and the favorite pizza chosen by the turtles.
Slip it down here. Give me that.
Hey, this is a 10. The tab's 13.
You're 2 minutes late, dude.
Ah, come on. I couldn't find a place.
Wise man say forgiveness is divine, but never pay full price for late pizza.
That's crazy. Seriously, the product placement is out of control. The final battle with Shredder is taken right out of the comics as they encounter him on a rooftop at night, although it is much less violent from the comics. They all think they could take on Shredder individually, and he wipes the floor with them. But instead of Shredder being sliced and stabbed repeatedly, beaten and bloody, then falling off the roof and exploding from a grenade blast into chunks, he runs at Splinter like an idiot, stupidly not seeing the drop to the street below right in front of him.
Death comes for us all, Urokusaki. But something much worse comes for you. For when you die, it will be... without honor.
Then Casey Jones turns on the garbage truck, casually crushing a man to his death, until he returns in the sequel with a couple of facial scars, but let's save that for another review. This movie definitely left a lasting legacy, standing as one of the most fondly remembered movies to all of us Ninja Turtles kids. If you haven't watched it yet, go check it out. It's literally perfect, and I will never say a bad thing about it.
We were awesome! Bodacious! Yeah! Good shit! Yeah! Gnarly! Radical! Yeah! Totally tubular, dude! Wicked! Delicious! Mega!
I have always liked Cowabunga.
Huh? Cowabunga!
I made a funny.
On the half shell, they're the heroes for. In this day and age, who could ask for more?
If you enjoyed this video, leave me a like and a comment down below letting me know. Don't forget to subscribe and follow me on social media. You can also check out some of my other videos or click my Patreon link if you'd like to support GamerThumbTV. This is Fabian. I love you guys, and I'll see you next time.
In this case, hey, you better hurry up. There's no time to waste. We need help like quick on the double.